Today, we explore one of the most dramatic legal collapses in recent American history. Two powerful public figures, former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, were criminally charged in highly publicized prosecutions, only for those cases to be completely thrown out. Not because the evidence was weak, not because a jury declared them innocent, but because the prosecutor who brought the charges was never legally appointed in the first place. This is the story of how two major federal cases began, how they gained national attention, and how they ultimately crumbled, raising deep questions about the justice system, political power, and the rules that are meant to protect every American. Before his prosecution even began, James Comey had already been one of the most controversial figures in American law enforcement. He served as the director of the FBI from 2013 to 2017. And during that time, he played central roles in the Hillary Clinton email investigation, the early stages of the Russia interference investigation, his public disagreements with President Donald Trump, and his eventual firing in 2017. These events placed Comey in the political crossfire. Many Republicans accused him of protecting Democrats. Many Democrats accused him of hurting Hillary Clinton's chances in the 2016 election. And Trump supporters viewed him as an enemy of the administration. By the time 2025 arrived, his name was still highly polarizing. And when the new administration began revisiting past high-profile political controversies, Comey quickly reappeared in the legal spotlight. The case against him centered on congressional testimony he gave in 2020. Prosecutors alleged that Comey misled Congress regarding internal FBI matters and his involvement in specific leaks. Comey denied all wrongdoing, but the charges against him didn't emerge in isolation. They came during a political climate where revisiting old battles had become part of a broader strategy. Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, had built her own political identity taking on major civil cases, especially those involving Donald Trump and his businesses. Her office had pursued major lawsuits alleging financial fraud inside the Trump organization, and she became one of Trump's most outspoken critics in state-level law enforcement. So when she was indicted in 2025, many saw the move as politically motivated retaliation. Unlike Comey's case, which was about congressional testimony, Letitia James faced allegations of mortgage fraud involving a property she purchased in Norfolk, Virginia. The prosecution claimed she misrepresented the property type to obtain better loan terms. James denied the allegations immediately, calling the case a politically motivated attack. Her supporters said the timing of the charges, just after major civil victories against Trump, was no coincidence. By late 2025, both Comey and James found themselves under federal criminal prosecution, even though neither case involved violence, financial schemes, or corruption. Instead, both cases appeared to revolve around political tensions and public rivalries, but the most important twist had nothing to do with the charges themselves. The downfall of these prosecutions would come from somewhere else entirely. To understand how everything collapsed, we must focus on the prosecutor at the center of these cases, Lindsay Halligan. Halligan was appointed in September 2025 as the interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. But there was a massive problem. Federal law limits interim U.S. Attorney appointments to 120 days. That 120-day window had expired months before her appointment. This meant two things. One, the Attorney General no longer had the power to appoint a new interim prosecutor. Two, any appointment made afterward required Senate confirmation, but Halligan had not been confirmed. Instead, she was placed into the role without Senate approval, bypassing constitutional procedures. Defense attorneys immediately noticed this issue. They argued that an illegally appointed prosecutor has no authority to bring charges, sign indictments, or conduct federal criminal proceedings. At first, prosecutors resisted the argument. They said the technicalities didn't matter and that the cases should proceed based on the seriousness of the allegations. But as the hearings continued, judges began to take the appointment issue very seriously. Under U.S. law, the power to prosecute is a core executive function, meaning it must follow strict constitutional rules. If the prosecutor lacks legal authority, every action under that prosecutor's name becomes invalid. This was the beginning of the unraveling. In federal court, both Comey's team and Letitia James's team filed motions challenging the authority of the prosecutor. Judge Cameron McGowan Curry reviewed the case, examining the timeline of the interim appointment, whether Halligan had legal authority, and whether the indictments were valid. After weeks of hearings, the judge reached a clear conclusion. The appointment was unlawful. Therefore, Halligan had no prosecutorial power. The indictments she signed were invalid, and all actions stemming from her appointment were unconstitutional. This ruling didn't evaluate the merits of the charges. It didn't say Comey or James were innocent. It didn't say the allegations were false. It simply declared that the cases were built on an unconstitutional foundation. And in the American justice system, the process is just as important as the outcome. If the process is broken, the case cannot proceed. On November 24, 2025, the judge dismissed both criminal cases against Comey and against Letitia James without prejudice. Without prejudice means the government can attempt to bring the charges again, but only under a legally appointed Senate-confirmed prosecutor. However, for James Comey, re-indictment may no longer be possible. The statute of limitations for his alleged offenses expired in September 2025. By the time a new prosecutor takes over, the window to charge him again may be closed forever. For Letitia James, the path is technically still open, but politically, refiling the case would be complicated and risky. After the dismissal, Comey called the prosecution a combination of malevolence and incompetence. Letitia James called the dismissal a victory and vowed to continue her work as Attorney General. The dismissal of these cases triggered a national conversation about political influence in federal prosecutions, the importance of lawful appointments, and the constitutional safeguards built into the justice system. Prosecutors have powerful tools, and with those tools must come strict accountability. If a prosecutor is appointed illegally, the justice system must intervene. Both supporters and critics of Comey and Letitia James agreed on one thing. The integrity of the system depends on following the rules. The collapse of these prosecutions serves as a reminder that in the United States, the legal process is protected by layers of checks and balances. Whether or not Comey or Letitia James ever face charges again is uncertain, but the legacy of this moment will live on as one of the most dramatic examples of how procedural law can overturn even the highest profile federal cases. In the end,